Welcome back, guys. Leo McCarthy, spiritual mentor, Reiki Master, psychic and medium, EFT Tapping practitioner, and shaman. What I want to talk about today is flowing out of fear. And what I mean by that is if you've ever heard about getting into the flow or getting into a flow state, what that feeling is kind of like that feeling like if you're daydreaming, if you're kind of lost in music, if let's say you're an artist and you might be just channeling a flow of inspiration on your canvas. Um, and fear, when we're in fear, fear puts the brakes on us and it kind of makes us believe that we're trapped and we're closed in and it's restricting and it's makes us feel small. And getting into a flow is becoming curious. And I know I've talked about becoming curious with fear in the past. And when you become curious, you start to not allow fear to consume you, and you start to question, what is this fear? And what am I feeling? What am I experiencing? And as you become curious, you start to kind of poke holes in the fear, and you start to realize that fear is just really a distraction. Now, there's different types of fear, and there's different rational fears, like, a fear of falling or a fear of getting hurt when you're in a situation where it's realistic that one of those two things could happen. But we also have irrational fears that come from our mind ruminating on potentials that aren't necessarily the truth. And so when our mind goes to catastrophic thinking of worst case scenario, our mind creates these situations where maybe the worst can happen and fear consumes us and kind of shuts down our brain with realizing that we can actually get out of that situation, and the fear consumes us and makes us feel like we're trapped in that situation. So flowing out of fear, when you get into a flow, you want to think of flow as curiosity, and getting into a flow and channeling curiosity can help you sort of break down any fear that you might be experiencing and uncover what is the reality and what's the real truth behind the fear. Is this a rational fear? Is there truth to this? Or is this just something that's my mind's creating? Or maybe this is something that is triggering a memory of a past event where something bad happened, but currently we're not really in a situation where that same thing is going to happen, but the trapped emotions to the trigger associated with the fear is coming out. And so if we can start to become curious, we can actually bring logic back into our brain and start to take apart the fear piece by piece. And when you become curious and you stay curious, you start to get into this flow state where you're channeling curiosity and you're channeling potential and you're creating new potentials and creating better outcomes that might be more realistic and in reality versus not in reality or irrational. And so, again, the big message today, as I want to talk about, is connecting, getting into flow of curiosity to carry yourself out of fear. And so hopefully this just gives you something to think about. And the next time you're experiencing fear, become curious why you are fearful and what is going on around you that is making you fearful, and what are the thoughts that are coming up that are creating the fear, and where do these thoughts come from? Are these thoughts that come from past memories, past experiences? Is our mind creating these worst case scenarios? So again, flowing out of fear is what we're talking about. And the next time you're afraid, become curious and let curiosity flow through you and channel the curiosity to carry yourself out of fear. I hope this gives you something to think about the next time you experience fear, and looking at a way out of fear by taking fear apart piece by piece, by getting into a flow of curiosity and taking yourself out of fear. If you thought this might be helpful and you like this material, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this, and we'll talk soon. Thank you.